Hello everybody, I'm Bobby, and on today's episode I'm going to be showing you how to make a homemade electrolysis tank for stripping off rust. And it's real simple, quick, easy thing to do, and these are the things I'm going to be using for mine. You might change it a little bit and make yours the way you want, modify it or whatnot, but I'm using 8 pieces of rebar. These right here, you can get at a hardware store. It's just a clamp, just like that. It works like this. So you got 8 of those, one for each piece of rebar. Got your bolts and all separated. You're going to want this right here, regular steel wire for your cathode. That's the part that's going to hang down in the very middle of the tank for putting your stuff on it that you're going to be stripping the rust off. You're going to need a battery charger, a drill. I'm going to use these little clips right here to clip onto my rebar like that. And you got 8 of those. I've got some wire. You're going to need a pair of wire strippers, a pair of pliers, a tape measure, and a pencil. And in my case, I'm using a 6-gallon bucket. And I'm going to go ahead, let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to show you how I make it. Alright, so I want to try to space things out kind of evenly, and I noticed that there's a seam right here on my bucket. One on this side, and it's one on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and make a mark up here as a reference point of where I'm going to start. Alright, so I'm going to make those 2 marks right there, and now I'm going to come across, and I want to make another 2 marks, just like right down the middle. I'm going to make it like a cross. Right there. Right there. That's right. So, we got 8.5. A little more right here. Like that. Right there. So that's good right there. So I'm gonna split the differences. I'm just gonna go ahead on and eyeball it. Put 1 mark right in the middle of these. Then I go ahead and take one of these. I'm gonna lay it down right in the middle, and I'm gonna make me a mark. Right there. Right there. Now I want to leave enough space in between the rim and that little area right there to make sure that my bolt fits. I don't want my hole to be up too high and then this catch the side of the bolt or something like that. I'm gonna go ahead and go all the way around now and do this. Right in the middle, right in the middle. And you can see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I'm going by the seam right here, right in the middle. Same thing right here. I'm going to head on all the way around and mark where I'm going to drill my holes at. And now that I've got my marks where my holes are going to be at, I'm going to go ahead and take a drill, and I'm going to drill like holes around the sides of this. See that I put my holes right there, and in case they don't line up a little bit and any of the spots, we'll just take the drill and ream it out a little bit. It's going to go on around like this. Oh yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Alright, so now all the pieces for the anodes are put in. I'm going to go ahead on now and stick my rebar inside of each little slot. Now I'm going to go ahead and put all my bolts on to hold these in place. I'm going to do this all the way around. All right. So now what you're going to have is something that looks like that. I'm going to go ahead on back now and take a wrench and going to tighten all these up. Make sure that all your rebars are lined up the way you want them down in the bottom before you tighten these up. All right. Now I go ahead on and take a wrench. I'm going to tighten these up. All right. So in the beginning, I was going to use these little spring clips right here that look like that. And I was going to clip them onto the rebar and then run a wire around. But as I was going through it, you know, sometimes you'll start a project and you'll look at it and then you'll think of a better way. Well, I thought of a better way. And what I got here are these little grounding clips. They're grounding rod and rebar clamps right here. And what you can do is you can put your copper wire inside of here and slide it down and then take this bolt and tighten it up with a wrench. So I got 8 of these and I got this wire, all right, from the hardware store for grounding wire. And what I want to do is I measure them and then I mark them with a Sharpie and I cutting them, and it's kind of tough to cut this thick copper, so you got a pair of bolt cutters for that. And I've already bent a couple of them, but when they come in straight like that, I got this old monkey wrench and I just put it in here straight like that, and then bend it down like this to fit in between. And so it's gonna go like this in between these clips, like this as well. They're gonna go like that, and then I'm gonna slide them back down. And then another one that's gonna continue like a link around it, like that. And once I got them all where I want them to be and everything, and all lined up and all, and I've got one going between each one of these, then I'm going to go ahead and take my wrench and tighten them up. So the first thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead on and I'm going to cut the rest of these, and it's going to be 8 of them. I've already got 2, so I got 6 more to do. Basically, all I'm doing is just taking this right here, this wire, and I'm marking where I want to cut it at, and I'm going to cut it with the bolt cutters, and then bend all of the pieces. So I know how long they're going to be. It's going to be that, like this piece right here. So I'm just going to hold this up to the next piece like that. I'll take my Sharpie, make a mark. All right. And then I'm going to take these like that and put them in my bolt cutters. Like this. Go ahead on it. Cut it down like that. Then, once I got my pieces cut, I take this little monkey wrench right here, tighten it up like that, right? And then you just bend it over like that. Bend it on one side, like that. And I'm using the depth of the wrench actually for my bends. So just go up in here like this and bend it around, bend, you know. And if it's a little crooked or whatever, you can take another pair of pliers or something and straighten it. So I'm gonna go ahead on down. I'm gonna make 6 more of these. And once I get them, then we're gonna go ahead on and go to the next step. So I've got all my pieces cut. They look like that. I'm gonna go ahead on now and just put them all inside of these little holders where they're gonna go, like that. As soon as I get them all in, then I'm gonna go ahead on and lift them up and get them spaced to where they're supposed to be and tighten them up. Tightened up. And the last one's a little too short, so I got to cut another one of that. Another one for that. I'm gonna go ahead on, and then once I do that, we're gonna raise them up, and I'm gonna tighten them down, tighten all the bolts down. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead on down and start drill a hole for my calf edge. I'm gonna get that right in the center. And I'm gonna doing this so that there's no chance of there's a lot of times you see people lay it up here. I don't want them clanking back and forth together. No chance of that. So I'm gonna drill a couple holes for mine. And this will go through here just like this. Just like that. And from this we'll wrap this wire right here around, and then you hang your piece that you're taking the rust off down into the bucket right there. I'm gonna put water in there and some suds and go to the next step. So here we have our electrolysis tank all ready, and all I got to do now is just run that wire on there. And what do you think about it, Fluid? Look, what do you think? Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead on and run that wire around this rebar right here, and we're gonna hang. The first thing I'm gonna be doing is like an old drill that was found underneath of a collapsed barn. And I'm going to go ahead on and run that wire around that and hang that piece in there, and it's going to be the beginning of the restoration for that drill. Will be the last part of the demonstration for this electrolysis tank right there. So I'm going to go ahead on tomorrow, and we're going to put the solution and the water in it and hook it all up, and she'll be ready. Ain't that right, Fluid? Yeah. All right. All right, so what I got here is an old T-handle wood auger that was found underneath of an old barn that had actually collapsed and fallen down around it, and it was kind of laying up underneath of the floor. As you can see, it's been there for a long time. It's very rusty, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to restore this and actually use it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to break this old handle off of here. This old wood off of here. Look, it's got nails and stuff in it. I didn't even see that. But that's how rotted and brittle and everything this thing was. And it's been underneath of there for a really long time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get this rust off of here using electrolysis. This thing looks like it was handmade. Check that out. So I'm going to be putting this in a homemade electrolysis tank. And it's going to be the first thing that I'm using the electrolysis tank for. So what I'm going to do, the first thing I want to do, is I'm just going to take this wire brush and just kind of knock some of the big rust off of this. Knock some of the big stuff off. I'm going to sand down a spot right around here in this area where I'm going to hang this from, so that it'll make good contact with the wire when I hang it down in the electrolysis tank. I'm just going to knock some of the big rust off of here. I'm not going to put a whole lot of time into this part. I could. And basically all I'm doing is I'm just trying to knock the big loose stuff off of here. Both directions like this. And I'm going to go ahead on and I'm going to sand down a little, or put sand or file down a little area up underneath here to hook my wire to. All right. Just doing that so that the wire can make a nice good contact and everything. And speed the process up a little bit. There we go. Alright. Now I'm going to go ahead on and move on out to the tank. So now I'm going to go ahead on and put some water in here. Alright, so now to this right here, I'm going to go ahead on and add a cup of Almond Hammer Super Washing Soda. 1 cup. A lot of times this stuff right here will be like all clumped up like in lumps. Alright, so no. Reach down in here with a spoon and it stir this stuff up. Let it dissolve all around inside this water. Now you'll notice that I got the piece that's going to be, we're taking the rust off, it's hanging off of the cathode that's suspended in the middle. And you don't want to make sure that that does not touch the anodes around the side of the corners and stuff. And then we're going to go ahead on and plug it up and check it out. And it looks like it's starting to rain and storm, so let me move that up a little bit. Right, now's the moment of truth. After all this making this electrolysis tank and everything, you got the battery charger hooked up. You got your positive on your anode that's on this grid out here, and your negative on your cathode in the middle. Got the washing powder in there, and you want to make sure that you hook all that stuff up first before you got your battery charger turned on, because they're making hydrogen gas and it's flammable, so you don't want no sparks or nothing. And you definitely don't want to be doing it inside. You want to do it outside in a well-ventilated area. So now I'm going to plug it up and let's see if it starts working. And here we go. Alright. Oh yeah, it's working. Let me take the camera off so you can get a little idea of how it's working. You can look down in there. Look at that. Well, it's working. Not only is it working, it's working real good. Look at that. And what that's going to do is strip all that rust off of there. Rust removal, electrolysis style. And I'm guessing that the longer that it's plugged up and it's going, the more it's gonna start bubbling. There we go. Look at that. And that's at 10 amps, which is probably just a little too much. Let's see if I can zoom up on that. There we go. Yeah. And it just so happened right when I was ready to do it, it was in the middle of a big thunderstorm, a downpour. So there you go, that's your electrolysis tank. And we're gonna let that sit there and brew and see how it turns out. Floyd, what are you doing to my electrolysis tank, man? I know you ain't cocking your leg up and peeing on my tank, dude. Come on. Floyd, I can't believe you just did that, man. Really?